What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a breakdown on my gold trade, which I was able to capture 750 pips on just today. I closed out the position. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the trade, about the entry, and about how I managed the trade throughout the process. So what I'm going to do here is I've got screenshots open up across the top of the different trade alerts and updates that I shared with members inside of our Discord. This is a trade that I did share inside of our private group there. And so I ended up getting long on gold after a major dip. And I want to talk a little bit about this before we jump into the actual trade. I was looking at gold from a longer term perspective, and I really liked the fact that we had formed a nice double bottom here at the yearly lows right around 1680 or so. So keep that in mind because we are going to come back to it. In fact, I'm going to mark it just so we can keep this in mind. I'm going to go ahead and make that green. So just keep that in mind. So we had this major level, and I noticed that gold was selling off of a cliff, it seemed like. And so I was really hesitant to jump involved or jump in front of this major selling. And thank goodness that I was patient, because check this out. Let's go ahead and zoom into where the trade first started. If we just click forward a couple times here, you can see we had all of a sudden this insane candle right here on the open of Sunday on August 8th, okay? And so I actually picked up a long position here, and I'm going to talk exactly about why and what the trade alert actually looked like here right now. So let me show you this. So here's what I sent out. I said, I'm taking a gold position here. Price fell very hard on the open and even tagged yearly lows. Remember that green zone that I pointed out? And I said, as a gold bull, I think that this could be a decent place to enter and try to catch a bounce back. Long term, if you look at this chart, the gold market has been going up. And so, you know, this major sell-off looked like a potential dip for me to try and capture some of the move. So I said, please note, I'm using a small position here, which is true because, again, this was quite a volatile market. And so when I saw this major drop, I was willing to buy it, but let me tell you exactly where I got in. So I actually sent out the trade alert. You can see it says right there, I got in a market buy at 1703.7, and I put a stop loss right away at 1690. So risking fairly small. Let's go take a look at this really quick. Okay, so I mentioned that I got in at 1703, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just mark this right here. So 1703, right around 1704 is where I actually ended up getting long. So this was my initial buy trade. So what I'll do is I'll just write here buy, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to watch the trade actually unfold. So I went long on gold right there with a stop loss. We'll go ahead and make a copy of this really quick. Let me just do this. We'll make a copy. I said 1690 is where I would like to stop out if this thing just completely reverses and goes back the other way. So I'll make that red, and this can be our stop loss. I'm going to show you this as we go along because you're going to watch it move here a little bit. Okay, so then price starts moving, the market gets open, it is Sunday, so again, we see a little bit of volatility, but very quickly, this trade started going in my favor here, okay? And this was a really cool entry because you saw those yearly demand lows come in very strong. Buyers seemed to step up immediately after I entered my position, which if you've been in a position like that yourself, you know that that's like the coolest feeling ever. You buy the trade or you buy the market, and then instantly the trade is just off into profit. It's the best feeling ever. I wish it happened more often, but again, this is trading. So let's look at the next update that I sent. On 8/10, I said that I'm moving my stops to break even on gold. I also had an NJ trade open that I moved to break even. And so I updated this to members inside of our Discord that I was moving stops to break even at on 8/10. So in fact, I gave it a few days. You can see I left my stop in place until about here. So we'll go ahead and leave this running a little bit. And you can kind of see, we can skip ahead. Price basically kept moving in my favor. And at a point, I basically moved my stop loss up to break even. So again, we're going to use this red line. So I moved my stop up to break even in case, you know, price did want to reverse. I didn't want to have, you know, a win turn into a loss. At the very least, I'd like to at least break even on the trade. Okay, so price keeps going. We see a little bit of consolidation. It does start to tap back a little bit, and then we see the bulls step back in. And from here, I did not move my stop loss for quite a while. This is a 1 hour chart, so you know this is multiple hours, a few days here of just holding on to the trade. So this is where things get interesting. Price is at break even, or my stop loss is at break even, and I noticed this big old candle right here. notice that we had, a nice little buy off of this. We had 2 candles down and 2 followed by big green strong candles on the hourly and the lower time frames. So what I ended up doing is at this point, I moved my stop loss again. I updated it and I moved my stop loss up to 1716.46. So using structure, 1716 will go right here, right? Just about there. I know this is not perfect, but it's close. So I basically said if price comes back underneath again, then I will stop out and I will take a profit. So at this point, I was in the fantastic position of being of a trader. When you are sitting in a trade and you're saying it's not a matter of whether or not I make money, it's a matter of how much money I actually make. Because if the market keeps going, ideally you have unlimited upside potentially if the market keeps going up, and your downside is limited to actually a profit. So at this point, I was already locked in on a profitable trade, which is awesome. And what you'll notice is that we got a nice runner that just continued. Most of the move, by the way, was caught in the first couple hours of my trade. There was an initial entry that just ran right up, which was awesome. But check this out. So again, remember, I've got my stop loss in place, and what I notice is that price basically does a beautiful breakout to the upside, and that was in fact the low. So at a certain point, there's where I moved it to 1716.46. Then I moved stops up to 1740, okay? And this is a big deal because 1740, if you notice, hasn't even hit the charts. We gotta wait just a minute here to show that. So once we saw the breakout there, I ended up moving my stop loss all the way up to 1740, locking in a pretty good chunk of the trade as we sat. So what I did is I just said, okay, price is broken out nicely, and I'm gonna go ahead and move my stop to 1740. So at this point, remember, I bought at 1703. So we're sitting in this trade that has gone dramatically in my favor, and I'm still sitting in it. At this point, I'm up, at this very moment, if I go from, where I entered 1703 or 1704 up to 1750, you're talking about a major, major move on the actual price of gold itself in just a matter of a few days. Then this is the cool thing about letting a winner run. Occasionally this happens. I wish it happened every time, but it does not. But this thing just kept going and going and going. You can see yet again here, price held that level. And sure enough, look at this. We see more upside come into gold. And look at this. So at this point, not only have I sat and held this trade as it's come up and continued to come up, I've moved my stop loss into profit, and at this point, we are just floating away again. And so I'm feeling very, very good about this, and so here is where things get interesting. And you might say, well, Nick, why don't you just take profit? But again, I'll show you in a minute. Price, sometimes when it just runs like this, it could just keep going and going and going. So I want to give it the best chance I can to become a massive winner. And that's exactly what this ended up doing. So at some point, I did end up moving stops to 1753, locked in another $13 on the price of gold. So we can move this up to 1753 right there. I basically said if price comes back down to that level, then get me out of the trade. But again, gold had a mind of its own, decided to consolidate a little bit before ultimately breaking out yet again. And this is just where it started becoming kind of almost just like, okay, what's going on here? The market just keeps going up and up and up, and I'm still in this long trade. Again, these are the trades, by the way, I'm going to pause and say this. These are the trades that I live for. These are the trades that I, wait patiently for so long in my trading. And so it was finally, the time to cash in, because it doesn't work out like this every time. Like I wish every trade was this easy, but this was just one of those trades where I got in and it just never came back and it never paused. It kept going and going and going. Now I should also say that one thing I did like here is that we had this really strong upward trend line there on the price of gold that seemed to be holding beautifully. And I was using that when keeping in mind where I was trailing my stop and moving things to, etc. So again, we went to 1740, we went to 1753, and then at a certain point, I even moved it up to 1770. Okay, so 1770 at a certain point came into play. I believe I waited until just about here somewhere as price made this higher low. I moved stops yet again to 1770. So price came up to right around there, just below these couple swing lows, and that's where I had my stop loss trailed to at this point. Finally, here's what happened. Price came up to 17.95, which on the higher time frames was a pretty key spot. You can scroll out here and you can see that you have some pretty significant resistance here at 17.95. So price came up to 17.95 and really started to hesitate. So what ended up happening is at the end of the trade here today, I am fully out of the trade. I closed it earlier today, and you can see, bam, I said I'm going to close out of my gold position here for a grand total of 750 pips. This trade was one of my best positions this year, and honestly a little sad to see it end. And that's just the truth. You know, sometimes you get one of these trades that just goes and goes and goes, and you just kind of sitting there, you're like, I hope it never ends. But everything must come to an end at a certain point. So in the end, I closed out of my position there. Like I said, 750 pips there on the price of gold. I cannot complain. Very happy with how this one played out. And again, I'm not done with gold. You know, gold is one of those things that I will trade periodically, especially if you get spikes in inflation fears. And maybe we see a breakout that gets me back in. Maybe there's opportunities to look for more upside, or, you know, maybe not. But either ways, I took my profit there today. Very happy with how everything played out. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope this sort of explained a little bit behind how, you know, some of the meaning behind some of my trading, as well as gave you a little inside look at what we do inside of the Discord. If you would like to see all of the trades that I'm taking, I share them in our Discord day by day, whatever I am trading, whatever I'm entered, whatever I'm trailing stops on, etc. I share that with members inside of the group with full explanations and updates going throughout my trade. So if you would like to see that, if that has an interest for you, then you can check that out down below in the description. There is a link, and if you use the promo code there for YouTube subscribers, you get a discount off of your membership. So check it out. Link is down below in the description, and hope to see some of you guys in the chat rooms there in the community. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you back next time.